Alright, what's up guys? In today's video, we will be discussing the best muscles to train to develop an aesthetic physique. So a disclaimer here, in order to develop an aesthetic physique, there's really not specific muscles. If we're just being honest, and I don't want to, lie to you guys, if you want to develop an aesthetic physique, you really want to train every muscle so you can have no weaknesses. Guys who truly have aesthetic physiques really have every muscle um, very well developed. So in order to have an aesthetic physique, you don't want to have any muscles underdeveloped. So in reality, in order to have a well-developed physique, train every single muscle, and we'll get into details about that later. But when people discuss wanting an aesthetic physique, they're discussing that like broad V taper that a lot of athletes and anime characters have. So let's get into it. So the muscles people are referring to are shoulders, your lats, your upper chest, and arms. So if I had to choose, certain muscles, it would be these four. Okay, so your shoulders, you have your front head, your side head, your rear delt. Your lats, you just have your lats. Upper chest, I said upper chest specifically because your upper chest is really how you get that aesthetic, like men's physique anime look. A lot of people hit chest, but if you evaluate lots of chests, in the real world, in the gym, a lot of people don't have developed upper chest. So you really want to spend time developing your upper chest. And when it comes to arms, I'm referring to your biceps and triceps. Now, when people train shoulders, especially beginners, myself included, I see this in a lot of guys in the gym. I've been in many gyms, and I've noticed this flaw or shortcoming in their physique is that a lot of them don't hit rear delts. So when you're training shoulders, you want to hit rear delts, and that's the small part of your shoulder in the back. It's your rear delt. It's a very small muscle. There's lots of exercises you can do for rear delts, but you want to train rear delts. You can have the round 3D dimensional, the round 3D kind of dimensional look. So like you want your shoulders to be round and pop out, kind of like anime characters or people who are very lean and very muscular. Hit your rear delts. It's a weakness a lot of people have. When training biceps, you want to hit both heads of the biceps. And when training triceps, you want to hit all three heads of the triceps. Sometimes a lot of people, especially beginners, don't know any better. They don't target all heads. They might only target two heads of the tricep or one head of the bicep, or only do, one head at a time during exercise. But you want to make sure you're hitting every aspect in order to more quickly and effectively develop that aesthetic physique. All right. Now, step three, this is probably the most important aspect. You want to learn how to properly contract all these muscles, okay? And learning how to properly contract all these muscles, that's just mind muscle connection. And mind muscle connection is your mind's ability to feel or isolate the muscle it's training when doing a specific exercise. So, for example, when you're doing a specific exercise, assuming it's not a compound movement, okay? Now, most movements are technically compound movements. However, um, you want to get your mind muscle connection to the point to where it's so effective, it's so good that you essentially only feel one muscle um, when you're exercising. Okay, you essentially only want to feel the intended muscle when you're exercising. Okay, so let's say you're doing V grip tricep pushdowns. When you're doing V grip tricep pushdowns, it's a tricep exercise because it's a tricep pushdown, but you're engaging your shoulders and you're engaging your lats for stability. But of course, you don't want to get bigger lats and bigger shoulders when doing a V grip tricep pushdown, because there's lots of more effective exercises to get bigger shoulders and bigger lats. The purpose of an exercise like that is to get bigger triceps. So when you're doing that, you want to be able to effectively only feel or utilize rather your tricep when doing certain isolation exercises. Okay. Now to be a little technical, you won't ever 100% fully isolate a muscle when you're training it, but you can get to the point to where you're effectively only training the intended muscle. Okay, right? All right. So I would recommend you learn how to properly contract all of your muscles, and in order to do this, I recommend watching training videos from professional bodybuilders on YouTube. There's lots of people you can watch from, especially with the rise of influencers on social media. But I would recommend you watch professional bodybuilders because you have to think these guys objectively have the best physiques in the world. They have the most muscle mass in the world and the most leanness in the world. So these guys know what they're talking about. So you want to watch videos from professional IFBB pro bodybuilders, guys who have competed at a world level on the bodybuilding stage, on how to properly contract each muscle. The information these guys give is next to none and is truly invaluable. I don't care about who your favorite influencer is. Get advice from professional bodybuilders. No one knows it better than them. They've dedicated, 20, 30 years of this consistency. If you want to learn how to properly train, how to properly contract your muscles, how to learn how to properly utilize mind muscle connection, watch videos from professional bodybuilders. Okay. Step 4. Once you master this, once you learn how to properly train every muscle, after you do that, I'd recommend you do that for 6 months. You get really good at that. Do it for about 6 months. I say master this, but you won't master it in 6 months, but you'll get much, much better. After that, you want to elevate and you want to train every muscle, not just the ones mentioned up here, but you want to train every muscle 2 times per week after learning how to properly train. Again, you don't want to have anything underdeveloped. You don't want to have any weaknesses. You want to train every muscle 2 times per week after learning how to properly train. But with that said, if you want to get that aesthetic V-taper physique, you want to emphasize shoulders, lats, upper chest, and arms, like we discussed here. How do you do that? I recommend drop sets. Now, drop sets are when you do an exercise and then you stop and you immediately do the same exercise at a decreased weight. So let's say you're doing barbell bicep curls. Let's say you're doing 60-pound barbell bicep curls. You're going to do that for however many reps and you're going to stop and you're going to do a lesser weight, let's say 40-pound bicep curls for a few more reps, okay? This allows you, it stimulates muscle growth, helps with strength, and allows for hypertrophy, which is building muscle. I highly recommend doing those, and some exercises I recommend when doing drop sets. Okay, I'd recommend side lateral raises. In my experience and in my observation of others, spamming side lateral raises, doing drop sets or even triple drop sets of these, focusing on mind muscle connection, pretty much isolating the shoulder entirely, helps a lot. You can do reverse pec deck flies, which are just these. When you're on the pec deck and you're just doing these, I'd recommend doing drop sets of those. An example I do right now is like 70 pounds. I'll start with like 5 reps and then drop to 60 pounds and do 6 reps, and I'll increase 1 rep each week until I get to 9 reps with 70 and then 10 reps with 60, and then I'll increase the weight by 5 pounds and do it all over again. Yeah, pec deck flies to get a bigger chest. And when you're training upper chest, I recommend you can do dumbbell, barbell, bench press, dumbbell, barbell, incline dumbbell, barbell, bench press, and incline dumbbell flies, pec flies. Yeah, those are super helpful. And you want to emphasize your lat pull downs and your horizontal row machines. When you're doing the horizontal row machines, at this point, you should have a good grasp of how to properly contract these muscles. I will say, if you can learn how to properly contract your lat muscles, especially in conjunction with these other muscles, your physique will blow up. Because a lot of guys are in the gym, they know how to train specific. They look decent, but they just don't have lats, and they don't have lats presumably because they don't know how to train them properly. Most likely because they're not properly contracting them. Because the lats are such a hard muscle to train for a beginner. So I'd recommend you put emphasis on learning how to properly contract your lats. All right, but in terms of exercises to do to emphasize with drop sets or supersets, are lat pull downs in your horizontal row machines. When you're doing any sort of machine lat work, it allows you to more easily feel that mind muscle connection, more easily engage that muscle. Okay. And another option you have are supersets. And a superset is when you do an exercise, you stop and you immediately go and do another different exercise. So it's kind of like doing barbell curls and then hammer curls. And exercises I would recommend doing drop sets or supersets with are barbell curls and hammer curls. And that's pretty much how you develop an aesthetic physique. Of course, if you want to be aesthetic, you have to be lean. And I've got tons of videos on how to be lean on my channel. I'll link some below. But that's how you do it. But again, I want to emphasize this: in order to, if you want to really be exceptional, if you want your physique to be exceptional, you sincerely have to emphasize every single muscle on your body. Okay, and that's all I've got for you guys today. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like. If you're interested, I do one-on-one fitness coaching. How to be a hybrid, how to bodybuild, how to get jacked, how to get shredded, how to build muscle and run marathons, how to build muscle and run concurrently, how to run long distances for beginners. all that good information, links in the bio. And if you guys enjoyed this video, leave a like, subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.